There's one way that buying a home, you could lose a lot of money.
That's how you're going to protect yourself from losing money if you choose to sell in the future.
So we're going to talk about this one way with somebody on the phone, and then we're going to break it down into some practical steps so you can avoid losing money on a home purchase. Buying a home that's functionally obsolete is the one surefire way that you'll lose money before you even try to sell that home in the future. So let's break it down and look at what is functional obsolescence and how do you avoid buying a home that's functionally obsolete or will be functionally obsolete in the future.
But like one thing to think about for sure is always begin with the end in mind, regardless of what that is. And so one of the things to begin with the end in mind as far as houses go is think about what is your end state with this house, right? Be it 5 or 50 years from now. Is it something that when you decide to leave that house, is it going to be something where you're going to want to sell it, or is it going to be something where you're going to want to rent it out? Or what is your end state with that house whenever you decide to leave? Like, what do you think? Are you wanting something that you'll be able to rent out in the future, or something that when you're ready to like get something different you would want to resell? Yeah. So here's something to think about since you'd want to resell. This is like key, and this is something you want to write down. One of the things you have to think about is what they call functional obsolescence. So, like when a home becomes functionally obsolete, that's something you may want to read more about. And the point of functionally obsolete means when a house is no longer something people are interested in. So, for example, and this is how I end up buying a lot of houses, honestly. So, I buy a lot of functionally obsolete homes because they're well undervalued. People love to rent functionally obsolete homes, but they don't want to buy them. What does that mean? So, a functionally obsolete home is like a one-bath home today, right? Like when you look at a home, people don't want to purchase a one-bathroom home. So, when you have a one-bathroom home for sale, the price per square foot is going to be way lower than like a standard home today is a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's kind of like the normal home, right? And so like if it's not a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, especially if it's like a 3-bedroom, 1-bath, 3-bedroom, 1-bath especially is going to take a huge price hit in resale value, which is why I'll buy them for rental homes, because I can buy a 3-bedroom, 1-bath where I can give a really low offer on it, and someone will accept that offer because they don't have a whole lot of buyers. And so then, since I bought it super low, I can now put money into remodeling it, and I can still rent it out very affordably where people are super happy to rent it because I'm giving them a great value on the rent price. Does that make sense? But if I were to try to sell that home, yeah, but if I try to sell that home, I'm going to lose money because nobody wants to spend a lot of money on that one-bath home, so I'm only going to get low offers on it. That makes sense. And so what some of the things. So here's some of the things that you want to think about with functional obsolescence if you're going to sell a home. You don't want to think about, man, this is like an okay home right now. You got to think like about time horizons, especially if you're thinking about living there for like 10 years. Think 10 years down the road, is this going to be the kind of home that people are still going to want to pay money for? Because if not, then it's going to be something that in dollar amount you'll have made money, right? So let's say I'm just going to make like normal Joplin numbers here, right? So like let's say you spend $50,000 on a house today, and 7 years down the road you sell it for $75,000. Well, you really just kept your money because that keeps pace with 3% inflation, right? And so if 7 years down the road you sell it for $60,000 and you bought it for $50,000, you actually lost money in real terms. But if you buy a house that is going to maintain, it's not going to become functionally obsolete, it's still the kind of home that people are going to be looking for 10 years from now, then that $50,000 home is probably going to resell, 7 years from now, hopefully, for more than 3% inflation because it's more than kept up with inflation. Does that make sense? So here's one of the things that I would highly advocate doing is when you see open houses on really nice brand new build homes, go to those open houses. It's not because you want to drop $300,000 on a brand new home, but the things that are like the really cool things in those new homes are going to be the standards 10 years from now. Just like if you, like, if you would go back 50 years, like a 3 bedroom, bath house was awesome because the average home 50 years ago was a 2 bed, 1 bath. Because then if you get into that house cheaper, right now you've got time, over the years that you live there, you've got time to fix all that stuff up, and you've got a real path forward. So then when you decide to sell that house one day, like the sooner you do those things, the more you get to enjoy them while you live there. But you also have a path forward. So like years down the road, when you go to sell that house, you're like, why does nobody want to buy this 1 bathroom house with no garage? Like, and if you decide not to do those things, you're also prepared because you're like, hey, maybe I don't want to do these fix ups, but I got a discounted price on it, and so I'm going to be happy when nobody wants to buy this house and I have to take a discounted sale price. I'm okay because I bought it at the appropriate discount for the things it didn't have.
Talking about what makes a home functionally obsolete, we have to be really careful to distinguish between things that are just trends and things that are long-term design features that are going to be desirable in homes for an extended period of time. So what are we talking about? Things that wouldn't make a home functionally obsolete would include things like paint colors, trim work, maybe the finishings that you find in a kitchen. However, some of the big structural things we really need to pay attention to. For example, since the 1990s through today, open floor plans have been the standard and increasing in popularity. So if you're buying an older home, which is what we're looking at when we're talking about functional obsolescence, think about one of the things you want to think about is, could this home be opened up? And if not, why or why not? You want to factor that into the pricing. Just because a home's functionally obsolete doesn't mean that you shouldn't buy it, especially if you're looking for a great deal. However, if you are buying a home and you recognize that there's some things that are going to make it functionally obsolete, or it already is functionally obsolete, you absolutely need to use that to your advantage while negotiating the purchase price. Because the functionally obsolete home is already going to be priced well below comparative homes in the market, and so it may ostensibly appear to already be a good deal, but recognize that you maybe need to be getting an even better deal on this home because it's going to continue decreasing in value over time. So I already talked about open floor plan. That's something that's kind of been the standard for the last 30 years. It's definitely something you need to think about when you're looking at a home. What are some other things that could make a home functionally obsolete already or in the near future? Something you need to look at are current building trends. So the National Association of Home Builders said that the two most important features for home buyers this past year were a laundry room and energy efficiency. So let's think about those two things. 91% of home buyers said that they needed a laundry room in their home. This would be something that I would think could make a home functionally obsolete if it lacked a laundry room or something that could be used as an in-home laundry facility. Makes sense. People have been doing their laundry in their house for the last 4 decades at least. And so now it's becoming more and more standard to be able to do laundry in your own home and not to just have your washer and dryer sitting in a kitchen or in a living space or some weird spot. People expect for their laundry room to be tucked away in a discreet location where they can do their laundry, and that's the sole purpose of that space. So I would say a house that lacks a laundry room or something that can be converted into a laundry room as a sole use space would be a functionally obsolete home. Now let's look at the number 2 thing home buyers were looking for this past year: energy efficient homes. This is why it may or may not be functionally obsolete. What's considered energy efficient today, and how's that standard going to change over time? Maybe integrated solar panels are something that would be considered energy efficient feature, or which that may or may not change over time. However, something like high grade insulation, I would say would be something that would be considered, if it doesn't have high quality insulation, that would make it more and more functionally obsolete over time. So we need to think about how those things compare and contrast. Another thing that was a major feature for home buyers this past year was master bedrooms with their own master bath inside the master bedroom suite. So now we think about this and think a lot of times this is something where you could get a value on a home and convert it with very little money if there's already a bathroom adjacent to one of the bedrooms that could easily be converted into a walk-in master bath in the future. But think about that as well. Is there a designated master bedroom in the home that you're purchasing? And then does it have its own bathroom attached to it, adjacent, or somewhere associated with it? Because, for example, a lot of the older homes that you find a great value on might be 3-bedroom, 1-bath. But if the standard is that people are looking for their own laundry room, they're looking for an energy efficient home, they're looking for a master bedroom with its own bathroom integrated to the master bedroom, when you start lacking a lot of these features, you're going to see the home priced for a great deal, but think about how much better of a deal you need to negotiate, since that home is just going to continue to become more and more obsolete as time goes on. And it's going to become harder and harder to find a buyer for that home.